welcome to Chris Recommends, and in this special video I'm going to be talking about my 5 favorite games that I am most excited to play with friends when we come back after the pandemic has kind of settled down. I know that myself and my group are in the middle of getting their vaccines. I have gotten my last shot of my vaccine, and a lot of them are working toward that. And these are the games that I am most pumped about playing with my friends again. So this is going to be a personal list. This is entirely me. I just wanted to share some of the games that I want to play and then tell you a little bit about them and why they might be interesting to you. The first game I wanted to talk about today is a 2 to 6 betting game for 14 plus, and it takes about an hour to play. It's called Unicorn Fever, and this is an interesting game where you have 6 unicorns that are racing across this rainbow, and they're trying to get to the end, and whoever gets to the end first will reward the person who bet on them with a certain amount of points. And it's in a really interesting kind of setup. So I wanted to share with you the board. This is the Unicorn Fever board, and what you're doing is essentially you're taking actions by choosing one of the available actions here on the board. Some of them are printed on the board, and some are some of them are on tokens that you'll have on the board. And you can take those and put them by you and take the action. Some of those will give you betting privileges. Basically, you could bet on the winner of the race, which is this row here of banners. You could bet that one of the unicorns will place in the top 3. Or you can place a late bet, which is the same thing as it's called a place bet, betting that the unicorn will place in the top 3, but you'll get paid out less. So, and this is a really interesting game because it's got a lot of card play. It's based on another horse racing game. So the game comes with 6 unicorns, and they're these, I can see if I can get this thing focused. These little plastic unicorns, varying colored bases, and they're really cute. They're not painted. I'm planning on painting my copy. So everyone has like cards in their hand, and you're going to be playing those cards in order to affect which unicorn goes fastest or which goes slowest. And so there's a little bit of like, guessing which opponent did what to which unicorn. There's a little bluffing in the game. And it's just a really kind of a riot sort of goofy game that you play with somebody, a bunch of people. It's minimum of 3. It's I'd say minimum of 3 players, even though it says 2 to 6. I wouldn't play this game with 2 people at all. I did play this game once, 3 players, with my mother-in-law, which was a lot of fun. My wife and my mother-in-law, and they tended to like it. They thought it was pretty fun, and they just said like it'd just be better with more people. And I tend to agree. I think this would be just a hoot with a lot of people. It's very interactive. There's a lot of like playing cards to mess other people up. So if you're into that sort of thing and you just want to see unicorns racing across a magical rainbow, then by all means try it out. All right, the second game that I'm most excited to play with my friends when we come back together is called Vampire the Masquerade Vendetta. I have been playing this a lot on Tabletop Simulator with some people online, and I've been really enjoying it. This is a card game where you are using your cards to essentially bid to determine who is going to win a particular location. It's a game where you are trying to control specific locations, and whoever wins a location at the end of the resolution phase wins an ally. An ally can be either a human or it can be a vampire, something like that. And the game plays a lot like this. On your turn, you're going to play a card. You can either play it face up or face down, and then you can add blood from your pool to that location. And then after everyone's taken a turn, it goes back around until you play the requisite number of cards that turn, and then you're going to resolve each location in order. This game comes with 7 factions, all representing different clans in Chicago in the Vampire the Masquerade universe. The thing that makes this game so fun for me is that every faction has their own unique deck of cards, and you're going to start with 2 and then draw another one each round. You're only going to play 3 rounds in this game, so it's pretty quick. This is almost a filler weight game. It lasts about 45 minutes, and you're going to be sculpting your hand and using, trying to figure out combos within your cards in order to score the most points by getting allies. and other ways of getting points as well. I'm not going to go over the whole rules here because this is a little complicated to explain in a short video, but suffice it to say that each faction has really, really fun and sometimes the game warping powers that make it extremely satisfying. And yeah, this game is just a lot of fun to play. The way you kind of manipulate the board in order to get what you're trying to do, trying to find clever ways to use your cards. It's really fun, but it can only really be experienced, I feel, at 4 or 5 players. It plays up to 6 also in teams, and I'm really excited to try that out as well. All right, the third game that I am most excited to play with some friends is actually just a one-on-one game, and this is personally because though I have a partner here who sometimes plays games with me, this is not her cup of tea. The next game that I'm most interested to play is War of the Ring, 2nd edition. This game is so big that it takes up the entire screen. I did end up getting this to the table twice with my partner, my wife, and she liked it but said it took way too long. It wasn't really her thing. This is an epic war game where one side controls the forces of Mordor and darkness, and the other side controls the free peoples of Middle Earth. So this is following pretty closely the events that happened in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. The game feels really thematic. You are, as the free peoples, trying to guide Frodo and the Fellowship to Mount Doom, to throw the ring into the Mount Doom. If you do that, you win. You could also win militarily. And on the other side, if you are the Mordor forces and Sauron, you are trying to expose and corrupt Frodo. And if you can do that, you win the game, or you can just win through military. So it's a very interesting game that it does take a long time to play. It is one of the games that I've been aching to play with somebody who really digs these kinds of epic war games like I do. All right, the next game that I'm most excited to play is actually a game I don't own, but a friend of mine does, and it is called Sidereal Confluence. Sidereal Confluence is a 4 to 9 player economic trading game, essentially, where each player takes on the role of a unique alien species who is trying to win something, become the most powerful species by mercantilism and bartering and sending out ships to fight and things like that. This game is entirely based around deal making, negotiation, creating alliances with your friends and betraying others, things like that. This is a game that, for me, it epitomizes what board games can do in a social situation, because it's so dynamic and so interesting and so unique that I've never played anything quite like it. It takes a while to play. It's about a 3-hour game. And I tend to we gravitate towards those in my group when we have a total of 6 people or so in our group. This is perfect with 6 people. If you can get 9 players for a Sidereal Confluence, it is going to be an epic game. But it is really about you trying to figure out how to do your thing. Like, you all have specific things your alien race can do. But unfortunately, you can't do it by yourself. You need to reach out to other cultures to do things for you. So I once played this game where I had a culture that had these amazing machines that could turn resources and other things in very quickly and very efficiently. But I was unable to run those myself. I had to have other people or other aliens run them, other players run them. And then I'd have to barter back for the goods, or I'd have to cut deals with them so that they can run my machines for a fee, but then they get a cut from what they ran and what they got from the machines. It was really awesome. And so that's one of the games that I have been aching to play again, and I can't wait to get it back to the table. All right, and my number 1 most anticipated game of getting back to the table is one that I've played several times. It is one of my all-time favorite games, but it only plays well I'd say it plays well at 5 or 6 players, but you want it to be a full complement of 6 players for this game. That is Dune. And this is the Gale Force 9 redo of the game that came out in the 70s. This is quite an epic war game about area control. You take on one of the 6 factions in the universe of Dune. So you're either the Emperor, the Spacing Guild, the Bene Gesserit Sisterhood, the Fremen, who are on the planet of Arrakis, or you are the Harkonnens or the Atreides. And if you've read the books, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, this might sound completely foreign to you, but stick with it. The thing that makes this game amazing and you may be seeing a pattern here in the way I like to play games with a lot of people, is that this is an asymmetric war game where each faction has unique abilities that warp the game in a particular way, an interesting way. And for instance, the Atreides have something called prescience, and so they could peek at cards when they're being auctioned for. This game is pretty complex. It's a game where you will be given, or at least this is how I play it, I give my my players, all the players who are going to be playing it, maybe a week notice that we're going to be playing it, and they have to learn their faction again, because it does have each faction does have a lot of nuance to them. They play a lot differently. They need different things, and there are the cards work differently for them. But Dune is both a negotiation game, much like Sidereal Confluence is a negotiation game, but it's also a bidding game, epic war game. The reason I love this game so much, it tells this epic story so well because the interaction of players makes it memorable. All of these moments that happen in this game, once, for instance, and this was maybe our first game or second game playing, one of my friends who was House Harkonnen got wiped out first round of the game. The game plays 10 rounds, and the first round of the game lost all of his troops, was off the board. And in the second round, started to scrap some units back on the board, and went out to harvest some spice, which is the universal currency in this game. And the player got attacked by a big group of units, and due to some miscalculation on one of the other player's parts, and ended up wiping the entire force out that was attacking him with one unit. And that was really memorable. And then that happened again in a different battle later on, and it was just so exciting that people were kind of, he's crawling back into the game, he's doing it. It's kind of a roller coaster ride of emotions, this game, but it creates such memorable experiences as a group that I can't recommend it enough to those willing to invest the time to learn the game. I mentioned in a prior video that I'm a big fan of Dune, and this is another example of my lunacy, but basically I'd say that if you're interested in playing Dune with a big group of people, you're going to have 6 people, including yourself. You're going to have to be willing to learn the rules inside and out and teach it pretty coherently, and because you can teach the game in about 30 minutes, it's not too bad. 30 minutes is a little long, but then you're also going to have to be able to be okay with a game that could run for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, or could run 6 hours. The game ends when one player controls 3 strongholds on the board, or a team of 2 controls 4. So the game can go long, it can go short, just depending on the things that come up, whether you're clever enough to get the right cards and play them at the right times. Maybe you're betraying your friend who they thought you were in an alliance with, and then a nexus happens. This is a time where you can break and make alliances, and then suddenly you switch to somebody else because you were conniving with them, and then all sorts of crazy stuff happens. So this is a game that is definitely not for the faint-hearted. If you are not happy with losing your stuff, I wouldn't play this game, because you will lose lots of units, you will lose leaders. Don't get overly connected to or committed to any of these characters or units. But if you can look past that, or you're really interested in war games, really interested in negotiation games, you could definitely do this. I mean, this is a great game. So those are my top 5 games I am most excited to play again once the pandemic is over, once I get my group back together. And it's looking pretty soon, so hopefully you are all safe and getting vaccinated, or planning on getting vaccinated, and we will hopefully see you in the future at Math and Stuff, and I might see you at a game night. Take care.